Hello and welcome to MySQL tutorial. MySQL is basically a database system used on the web and it runs on a server. So our server is going to be XAMPP, which we have used before. Go ahead and start your Apache and MySQL. And so MySQL is ideal for both small and large applications. It is very fast, reliable and easy to use. And so the first thing that I've done here is, you can see, I have my local host and then I've put in PHP myadmin. So when you write that and you enter this web page, so PHP myadmin, right here on the left we have already made databases, and here we have our settings, our databases and so on. So the very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to click on databases. Secondly, what we're going to do is we're going to write the name of our database. Let's go ahead and type in MySQL DB and 1, and then we need to use this field to select the language. So let's use UTF General. So through this we can write in English, I don't know, Russian, and it is like a general option. And so collation basically refers to a set of rules that determine how data is sorted and compared. Now we're going to click on create, and we see that our database has been created. Now what we need to do is we need to create a new user who can basically edit and enter our database, for which we have to click on MySQL DB1. This is a very important part, and we see that the options change appear, so the menu changes and we get this page. So the most important thing that we got out of clicking MySQL DB1 was that in more we get privileges. Now if we click on privileges, what we're going to see is all of the users' names and their host names, their types, the privileges that they get, and if they're granted the actions. Now we're going to go ahead and click on add user account, and we get led to this page where we have to fill the fields in. So for username we can go ahead and type in MySQL1, and for the host we absolutely have to click on local. To our username let's add user, so it says user. And then for password, what we can do is we can either go ahead and type in our own password, or we can click on this generate password generate button, and it will generate for us random passwords like so, if you see right here. And however, let's just not do that, so let's get rid of this. And now for our password, let's go ahead and write something like capital A B C D and 1 2 3 4. Alright, here we are. And if you're actually going to be working on something professional, or I don't know, something that needs to be kept secret or is very important, go ahead and use the generate button, as that's just really good for your own safety. And right down here we have grant all privileges on database MySQL DB1 selected, which is the thing that we actually need. And so it basically grants privileges, so every single privilege that we can get on our MySQL DB1. Now for our global privileges, we're just going to select check all just for today and just for now. However, in the future we'll try and do some other things. And now after selecting all of our required options, let's go ahead and click on go, and we have added a new user. So we're going to see this in our privileges like so. MySQL1 user, which is me, and it is a local host. It's global, so all privileges, and here we are. So we had to basically do this to get full access to our MySQL1 database, which is right here. And so PHP will also have sort of access to MySQL DB1, so the script of PHP. So let's get access to our database through our PHP, for which we're going to go to our htdocs in our XAMPP folder, and in my MySQL folder I have a text document prepared with 1.php. Let's go ahead and edit it with Notepad. Here we are. Let me close out of everything else, and here is my PHP file. So the first thing that we'll do is we'll make our PHP code, in which we'll have to write 4 variables through which we'll link our PHP script with our MySQL DB1 database. Now we're going to make our 4 variables, so let's name the first one server name, and then our second one is going to be user. The third one will be our password, and there's a slight mistake here we go, password, and the last variable will be the database name. So now for our first one, we're going to write our server name, which is basically localhost, which is what we selected, and then we're going to put a semicolon. And now for user, what we selected was MySQL 1 and user underscore user. Now put a semicolon, and then for our password, we're going to write the password that we wrote, which for me was ABCD1234. And we have to write our database name, which we put as MySQL DB1. So MySQL database 1. Now, right at this moment, these 4 variables are not doing anything PHP related, they're just variables with their values. Now, to actually connect our PHP with our database with each other, what we're going to do is we're going to make another variable. So con is basically connect, and we're going to go ahead and type in MySQLi and connect. So this code actually used to be just MySQL connect, however it was deprecated in 2012, so that was for the earlier versions of PHP. And so just so you know, the I stands for improved. So this is a function through which we can get linked with our database. Now first of all, let me just make this a little bit bigger just so you can see it better. And what we're going to do inside of the brackets, we're going to write our variables which have the values inside of them. So our server name, password, user, so on. So let's just go ahead and type in our server name, and let's just go in order, and then we're going to type in our user, then we're going to type in password, and lastly we're going to go ahead and type in database name. Now what we're going to do is we're going to check if it actually worked. So if we want to check things, we're going to be using our if statement, and we're going to talk about our con variable. So if the con variable does not work, so it hasn't worked, through the die function, we're going to go ahead and type in some text that we'll get. So wrong entry, and we can continue this for wrong entry for database, or I don't know, something like this. And then we also have to put a dot right here, and we have to type in MySQLi connect and error, like so. And so this will tell us the exact reason why we couldn't enter the database. And we also need to write code for else, so if something is actually right. And for here we can just write echo and let's say correct entry, like so. Let's save. Now let's go ahead and open it in our local host. So it is in the MySQL file folder actually, and its name is 1.php. And here we are, it says correct entry. We've entered our PHP. Now let's say we would to delete something from our code, so the password, and if I refresh, I'm going to get access denied for user, and if I bring it back, I'll get correct entry. And also you can get some other errors, like if you've missed a semicolon. So now back to our phpMyAdmin, and as we can see, there's actually nothing yet in MySQL DB1, and here we work with tables. Now we're going to create our first table. Let's name it, let's say, users. All of them have to have names, by the way, and let's make it have 5 columns. Now we're going to click on go, and we're going to be taken right here. Now right here we can write ID for name, and then the types. Let me just walk you through a couple of them. So int basically stands for integers, and varchar is basically, it actually, you can see it has text which says what it actually does. So varchar is text and numbers. Text is text and numbers also, however it's for much bigger text, and date is basically the date. And there's many more right here which we'll talk about later on, and just for today let's use int, so integers for all of them. Now we're going to go a little bit to the right, and through our auto increment we're going to highlight it right here, which means that it'll work for all of them. It will highlight all of them. ID can't be unique. Now for ID we need to choose primary. Now we also have a login, so go ahead and type in login, and I can get values up to 10, so here we are, and the type of it will be varchar or varchar, it doesn't matter. Now let's go ahead and type in password, which will also be varchar, and let's just write 40 as the value. Then we're also going to go ahead and type in the age field. We'll just leave it with int, and we'll write 3, so that means 3 symbols from 0 to 999. Now let's also write date, which actually shows us the date of when we registered, or when the user made this. And in date and time we're going to put in timestamp, and in the default area, which is right here, we're going to select current timestamp. Just go ahead and create our table by clicking save. Now after clicking on MySQL DB1 we get this table area, and we have users, which is us, and there's still nothing inside, just our sort of menu area. As we see, it says 0 rows right here. And if we click on structure, we'll see the structure of our table. It is made up of an ID, login, password, age, and date. And as we see right here, these are the types that we put in by ourselves. So the integers, the varchars and their values, so 10, varchar for password was 40, and the symbols for age are 3, and we have our timestamp. Now in our database, let's go ahead and add in values, which we do through insert, which we have right here. We can leave our ID fields completely empty, as we've given it a command which will do it automatically for us. Now for login, let's go ahead and type in Simon. For password, let's type in Simon password, or just pass, and then we put 25 for his age, and we don't do anything for date, as our database will basically add in the current timestamp at which point it's sort of saved and uploaded. Let's go ahead and click on go, and now in our browse section we're going to see that our Simon named user has actually made it to our database and on our table. So we have our login Simon passes the password, his age is 25, and this is the exact time that this, and also see that the ID has been placed by itself. And now let's say we were to add someone else, so something like Mike Wazowski, and let's say he's 30 years old. We don't do anything for the current timestamp. We click on go, and in browse we'll automatically get our ID as 2, and we have the login, password, age, and the date. Let's go ahead and add in another user, and so something like Susan, and 18. Now if I click on go, and browse. I'm going to get number 3 ID, Susan, pass 18 and the date. Now let's try and display this data not in our phpMyAdmin but in our file, which is right here. Go ahead and bring back your notepad, and inside we're going to make a variable, so something like SQL1, and then we're going to type in select. So we need to write from which table and what variables we want to be in our file. So we're going to click on select. We're going to write select login, and let's type in age, from, and users, just like so. By the way, this text is not case sensitive at all. I've just written it like this just so it can be more visible for you. And let me just quickly minimize this. Now I'm going to go ahead and create another variable through which we'll basically send the data, and I'm going to type in another function which is MySQL query, and we're going to write our variables, so our connect variable and our SQL variable, SQL1, so this variable that we just made. So I'm going to make my result variable where MySQL SQLi query function will be used, and through this we're getting our connect variable and our variable that we just made, so our SQL1. Now to get this actually displayed properly, we need to add in another code, which is our while loop. We're going to make a new variable like line, and inside we're going to use the MySQLi fetch ASSOC. Inside of this we're going to go ahead and type in our result like so, and then we're going to add in curly braces to write what needs to be displayed inside, and through echo we're going to write first of all login, and I'm going to put a colon here, and then I'm going to put a dot and then my line variable, which is actually going to be an array, so we have to put square brackets, and then inside we have to write login and then a dot space and quotes in which we'll put another dot and our line array in which I'll write age, and there's this right here, and I forgot to put my comma right here. We can get rid of this line, and I need to put age right here, and we can close this like so, and then we put a dot here and line and age. And so right here we see the table that we're supposed to get in our file, and we're gonna get all of the ages through this age right here. And as we see, there's just too many lines here and they'll just look horrible, so let's put a BR tag. We can also just comment on this quickly, we don't need it. And now let's save, refresh, and as we see we get our sort of table, which is actually an array, and we get our logins with the names and the ages. Now as you see, we only have login and age, as that's the only two things that we put in our code. So what we can do is in SQL1 we can go ahead and add in whatever else we want. So if we want the date, we can go ahead and add it. So let's put a comma after age and put date from users. Now we can just simply add it to this. So we're going to put a dot, we're going to put our quotes, a comma, and let's type in date like so, and then we need to put our line variable or array in which we'll put the date. So now let's save, let's refresh. As you see, we also get the dates of each one and when it was created exactly. Just a quick tip that you may need in the future: if you want to place this database on another different computer, what you do is you click on MySQL DB1, so your database, click on export, and then after clicking on quick, you just click on go, and you quickly get your database right here in your computer. You can save it wherever you'd like and use it on a different computer. So that was it on the first tutorial on MySQL. Thank you so much for watching.